Hello guys, Bashar here. We are together again with another Grim Dawn video. So in this video guys, I will be showing you a budget Templar Eye of Reckoning build. Eye of Reckoning is the equivalent of Whirlwind in Diablo and Cyclone in Path of Exile. I'll demonstrate as you can see. And the Eye of Reckoning ability comes from the Oathkeeper, which is the most recently added class or mastery, if we speak in the game's terms, to Grim Dawn with the Forgotten Gods expansion. So how shall we progress, guys? So we do Arcanist and Oathkeeper. You know, the order doesn't matter. At level 2 you pick your first mastery, and at level 10 you pick your second mastery. And as you can see, since Eye of Reckoning is a bit deep in the mastery, you have to start with something. You can play with Ages of Man here, you can play with Righteous Fervor, doesn't really matter guys, or you can just start with Kalidor's Tempest, or whatever you like guys. Just keep a two-handed weapon ready for the Eye of Reckoning. You can start using Eye of Reckoning at level 10 or so, but you don't have to rush that much. And as you know, the skills in squares are active skills, and the skills in circles are passive skills. So if a passive skill is linked to a skill, that means that passive skill is boosting, augmenting that skill. If a passive is not linked to anything, it just works all the time. But as you can see, it says this is a shield bonus, so this should not be used without a shield. So this passive, for example, buffs Eye of Reckoning, and like I said, this and this passive do not boost anything. So by the way, the side arrows, as you can see guys, I have a little bit of bonus skills. I have +2 to all Oathkeeper skill levels, and these linked skills with a low cap do not benefit from those boosts. So if I assign 1 point in Drig's approach, it just converts the damage, the physical into acid and fire into vitality, and there is no benefit of getting an additional point in those. So what do we use other than Eye of Reckoning? Well, thing is, we will be focusing on doing fire damage with this weapon, the Infernal Brimstone. So guys, anything that reduces fire resistance is useful to us, and Wire's Might is an excellent mobility skill. Let me show you. I mean, it doesn't require a target, so and it also does damage, so you can use it to move or you can use it to attack, which is very nice, because if it's a hit skill, you have to have a target. So if you don't have a target, you cannot use the hit skill. And if it's a blink skill, it doesn't do any damage. So Wise Might is excellent. Okay, that was the wrong thing. And Tectonic Shift is worth putting 1 point in because of the recharge, the cooldown reduction. So you can use the Wise Might more often. Guardian of Empyrean is good in the sense that it gives you fire resistance penalty to the monsters. So we just put 1 point in the Guardian of Empyrean, but max out the Celestial Presence because of the minus fire resistance, guys. So the monsters have 0 fire resistance base, as far as I know. I checked a bit and I wasn't able to find any information that they have more than 0 resistance, guys. So they have 0 resistance, so the monsters take the damage you deal in fire fully, right? But if you give them minus resistance, that actually means they will take more damage. For example, if you are doing 1,000 fire damage and you give them 32% fire resistance penalty, then their resistance will be minus 32 and they will receive 1,320 damage. So this means 32% damage bonus, guys. The Guardians of Empyrean are these guys, and because of that passive, they give 32% fire resistance penalty to the monsters they hit. We are also, of course, maxing out the Eye of Reckoning passive. It gives us 100% to pass through enemies, additional radius, some more lightning and physical damage, and the target's damage is also reduced. Presence of Virtue is worth putting 1 point in. These are, so to speak, the reserved mana abilities from Path of Exile. In order to keep them up, you have to reserve some of your energy in Grim Dawn, mana in Path of Exile. So this gives us some offensive ability. Offensive ability is very important, guys, because the build I will show you relies heavily on crits, and in Grim Dawn, hitting and critting just rely on offensive ability. If your offensive ability is low, you will miss and you will never crit. If your offensive ability is high, you will always hit and sometimes crit, and so on. And of course, Haven is a very nice passive that gives us percentage health bonus and heal bonus, which also works with lifesteal. The shield damage doesn't work, and this gives us some additional damage and life reduction resistance, which is pretty good, guys. Some Chthonian guys have huge life reduction capabilities, more than 25% or so, so that's nice. This passive is pretty good, guys. It triggers whenever we go below 66%, which is very common, as you can guess. Lasts for only 5 seconds and the cooldown is 15 seconds. It's 14.4 because of some reduction, and gives us defensive ability, more heals, and max res, guys. Max res is very serious because in Grim Dawn, unlike in Diablo 2 and Path of Exile, where the resistance are capped at 75%, in Grim Dawn resistance are capped at 80%. And you can actually get some stuff that gives you additional max res. As you can see here, my fire is 85, and 5 more on top of it is pretty serious. 90% resist. This is a great skill. You can max it if you have the points. I mean, there are a few points that I haven't acquired yet on this character, so you can get this resilience to go up to 6% maximum resist, which is very good, guys. I mean, if you have a 85% resist, it will go up to 91 or so. It is crazy. And last of all, we have Ascension. Gives us damage absorption, and well, this is our bread and butter skill, but guys, this is what makes this build a starter build. The problem is, as you can see, the duration is 10 seconds and it gives us almost triple damage, some sort of damage absorption, which is also great, but the cooldown is 23 seconds, guys. Normally it's 24, I think, and that's huge. I mean, we cannot even maintain a 50% uptime on the skill. And this gives us life resistance, energy resistance, and reduced stun freeze. This skill is wondrous, guys. But like I said, the cooldown and the duration, I mean, do not go very well together. So 10 seconds out of 23, we are very strong. We do a lot of damage. We cannot be stunned. We can spin like a maniac, and in the rest of those 13 seconds we got wrecked. So we max these, we put 1 point in these, we max these if we have the points, we obviously max these. 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, and max. As for Arcanist, guys, we maxed the Iskandar's Elemental Exchange because one passive there will give us resistance penalty, I think. Oh no, the passive gives us crit damage, which is great, and also offensive ability. Yeah, it gives us elemental damage, guys, and most of our damage is fire, so this is pretty good. We max this and put 1 point in these. Okay, this gives us some damage absorption. Damage absorption literally is damage reduction, guys. If you compare it to other ARPG games, I mean, that damage is absorbed by something. Do not think about it. I mean, this is the 12% damage reduction, which is of course pretty nice. Another 1 pointer. The mirror is definitely worth 1 point, guys. The mirror is insane. That's our survival skill. It gives us 100% damage absorption, and which is, as you can guess, total immunity for 3 seconds. The cooldown is around 30 seconds. I have a lot of gear that gives us bonus to the skill, and this skill's cooldown gets reduced when you put points in it, so it can reliably be reduced down to 22 seconds, and after that the points are not worth it. As you can see, if I point one more point in, it gets reduced by 0.3 seconds, which is not worth it. This skill of course is great most of the time, guys. There's a devotion skill called Ghoul's Blood. Ghoul's Blood keeps us up, and we use the mirror, and then we have to run around, and we use our ascension, then we have to run around. That's what makes this build weak. As for the exclusive skills, all classes, all masteries have one exclusive skill, so you are allowed to use one exclusive skill at a time, so you have to pick one of the two and max it. That's how almost all builds go, guys. Since we are doing a lot of fire damage, this is pretty nice. Reckless power, we just max it. It gives us fire damage, either damage, blah blah blah. We put 1 point in all extras flash freeze. It is very great, guys. 51% minus fire resistance, very good against normal monsters, but doesn't work against bosses. So it's very good for stunning trash though. And we have inner focus for added spirit and offensive ability, because guys, like I said, you will see, okay, crits are very important for us. We need the offensive ability bonus. Arcane Will, this is the Arcanist counterpart of resilience. Gives us a lot of damage, defensive ability, and energy regeneration. And as you can see, guys, this time the recharge and the duration are the same, so this is kind of always active, the Arcane Will, because the resilience 5-second duration, 14.4 second recharge, this is not always active. However, this one is always active. And we have Nullification. Nullification is used to remove the buffs from our enemies and remove the debuffs from ourselves, but as you can see, the cooldown is very big, 20 seconds, so I mean, it's not very long, but I mean, in combat you get debuffed so quickly. You have to use this at a sweet spot, generally to remove invulnerability shields or huge damage reduction effects from your enemies. This is nice. So guys, I am not giving you the exact amounts of points to put in, because your gear will vary and the bonus skills are very important. For example, I mean, inner focus, the next point would be absolutely meaningless, right? Because it doesn't give us offensive ability percentage, just 1% spirit. So that's where you stop putting points in this. 12, it is definitely worth, but maybe you can stop at 1% offensive ability as well. For example, it gives you 2% offensive ability per point, and then at some point it gives you 1%. Okay, then you can stop, because the spirit is not very meaningful for us. So in here, max Iskandras, put 1 point in the passives, 1 point in the mirror, 1 point in the sphere, max out reckless power, 1 point here, max arcane will, 1 point here, and some points in here, max 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, max 1 point, 1 point, max if you can, max if you can, max. So thing is, guys, the number of skill points vary from character to character, because there are some quests that give skill points. I mean, you can skip some of them without knowing, but of course there's a hard cap. I mean, you start with getting 3 points every level up until level 50, then up until level 90 you get 2 points per level, and from 91 to level 100 you get 1 point per level. And then there is the hidden path quest that gives you 1 skill point. There is there's the Ashes of Melmoth side quest that gives you another. There are the Forgotten, there are the Shattered Realm ones that give you some. So it kind of varies, but like I said, that's the general gist of it. I mean, at this point maybe I would take off some points. I mean, if this is not 1 point, I could take 1 point of this, 1 point of this, and invest them here because of the HP. And guys, my gear is not very good. This was my first character after coming back to Grim Dawn after a while, so my HP is bad. It should be around 15k at least, with permanent self buffs. And my offensive and defensive abilities are also bad. They should be more like 2.8k each, maybe a little higher, because as you can see, hits up to 90%. I mean, your minimum hit chance is 60%, and from 60% to 90%, guys, you do not get any crit chance. And after going higher than 90%, every percentage of hitting chance translates into a crit chance. So as you can see, 92.9% hit chance is 2.9% crit chance. And after 100%, the crit chance still keeps going up. For example, if you have like 110% hit chance, 100% will be displayed, but you will have a 20% crit chance. And that, as you can see, that's what's bad about the build, guys. I mean, right now I have a chance to be crit, and crit, as you can expect, is a huge damage. I mean, which you do not expect, right? Because you have a certain grip on the character's toughness. I mean, if you receive a hit from a boss, you know roughly how much HP you should lose, and crit just destroys that. So you should have enough defensive ability where bosses will not be able to crit you. Of course, we have some abilities that gives us more defensive ability, but guys, as you can see, the base is there, because also the boss can penalize your defensive ability and still land a crit. So you should have high enough defensive ability to avoid crits even from bosses. The displayed monster in there is a boss, so his attack skill is pretty high. So even at 2.5k, 2.6k, we should be okay. As for the gear, guys, my weapon is the weapon I want, but sadly the problem is it requires level 65, as you can see, and it should be a level 94 version actually. The mythical infernal brimstone, that's what I want. Never had it, so I have to play with this. And thing is, guys, as you can see, it grants us a skill, Rain of Fire, 100% chance on critical attack. Let me demonstrate. on these poor monsters. Okay, that's the Rain of Fire, and that's I mean, I'm not gonna say our main source of damage, but it's okay, it's not crowded enough for me to demonstrate here. Maybe. Okay, let's go here. I mean, the damage it does is pretty serious, guys. I want to show you that. Yes, this place should be. As you can see, the damage is pretty serious. Ooh. And as you see, the build is not really very powerful, guys. I mean, Act 1, first elite I ran into was a bit of trouble. I mean, I also forgot how to play the build a bit because this character is a bit old. So as for the gear, guys, we want Mythical Infernal Brimstone. Like I said, obviously 2 pieces of Iskandra is very good because it gives you element damage and burn damage, which we use. And what's more, guys, the mythical Iskandra set bonus, mine is regular, as you can see. The mythical Iskandra set bonus is 120% instead of 80%. 2 pieces are enough though, because our main skills are generally in Oathkeeper, and this gives Arcanist skill bonus. We don't need that. And also we could use the Vanquisher set, guys, which gives us a lot of fire damage, etc. So if you don't have the stuff, just go for fire damage and elemental damage, and try to keep your resistances maxed, of course. As for components, I mean, if you have this, if you have the materials, going for Ugdenbog leather is very good. Let me show you. It's a very, very good component, guys. You have to get the recipe though. You have to be lucky and get the recipe. Ugdenbog leather. There it is. See, guys, it's insane. 30 defensive ability, 20% poison and acid resistance, and 20% bleeding resistance. There are not many components that give you poison and acid resistance, and the other one that gives you poison resistance is a bit bad. This one, guys. So since my gear is not very good, guys, I had to go for resistance components to get my resistance to max, but there are some very good components that I also should use. So it's a bit of a problem, because I mean, I am losing defensive ability and damage by using all resistance augments. So for example, guys, on rings there is a component that gives you 160 health and 52 defensive ability, which is great. And I have this crap here, and my HP is still very low. So like I said, this was my base, guys. So I played this character, I grinded all of my reputations to revered, I got the writs, and then I started playing another character, and I also managed to kill the clan of John Bourbon, who drops the Gazer, so I could level my second character much faster, 15% XP gain, and also I got the Mammoth 100% increased XP gain potions, which is also pretty good. So as for relic, we use Iskandra's Balance, and like I said, 2 Vanquisher sets, 2 Iskandra sets, and for gloves, legs and boots you can use monster infrequents or crafted stuff. But guys, word of warning, the crafted stuff will I mean, will be a huge drain on your resources, because the stuff that you want has a very low probability to appear actually. So you can see my low amount of iron bits here. That's because I tried to craft some legs and gloves for another character of mine, I think, and like 10 million bits and hundreds of scraps went in there, and I didn't actually get what I wanted. So my suggestion would be to avoid the builds that require green items to function properly, because guys, for example, you see the guy, you see his weapon, you see his chest, you see his shoulder, blah blah, everything, and everything, I mean, the augments do not have any resistances, the components do not have any resistances, or very little, maybe life percentage, offensive ability, defensive ability, grants offensive abilities, whatever. And then how the hell does this guy have max resistance? I mean, you question yourself and take a look at the green legs and blah, more than 100 resistance on all of it. So I mean, those crafts are very hard, guys. Those crafts are very, very hard. So like I said, keep that in mind. And but the mobility of the build is very nice, guys. I mean, you do not fall victim to AoE effects, because I mean, you do, but I mean, you do not fall victim to effects that punish you for being stationary. Since you just spin, spin and spin all the time, you do not get punished by that. So I put up all of my abilities that are toggled in the secondary bar. These are the auras that we use. That's granted me to buy an item, by the weapon, by actually the component in the weapon, enchanted flint. And finally I have the guardians. I mean, the guardians are immortal, so you just summon two and never use it again. So I also put it in this bar. And in here I have the teleportation augment I used in the medal. This one purges, guys, so removes the negative effects from me, removes the buffs from my from the monsters. This one is the damage boost. Like I said, the problem is the short duration and the long cooldown, or whatever way you look at it. This is used to freeze enemies and give them minus fire resistance. Doesn't work on bosses. And this is the total immunity to the mirror of Eoctes. And this is the mobility skill, guys, and we do not have any other skills. And I have Eye of Reckoning on the right click, so I just spin, spin, spin. And I have Ether clusters here. That's 75% damage reduction. These are rarely obtained from breaking the Ether clusters you find all over the world. So I actually skipped the devotions, right? Like I said, guys, I just used whatever I could find with fire damage, and offensive ability climbed up to 2.5k, which is not enough. Should be 2.8k or so. I mean, of course, it's the higher the better, but I mean, at some point you do not have any crit chance, and guys, in order for this to proc, you need crits, right? So the devotions, guys. Okay, well, you start with the crossroads, guys. You complete eel, then eel is nice because it has movement speed, I think. Yeah, it does. see, the thing is, guys, as you can see, I have no points in the crossroads, and that should be impossible because I mean you have to start from crossroads, right? The trick is to the D-spec, guys. I mean, you start in crossroads, you get the eel, and now you have 5 primordial points, and if you unspec this, you are down to 5 primordial points, and you can start in another constellation that requires 5 primordial points. So let's take a look at this. That's more complicated. So the important constellations are, guys, Ghoul is very important. I think I used it on almost all builds that I used. This Ghoulish Hunger is insanely good, guys. Triggers once you are at 45% health, only lasts for 5 seconds, but it gives you 80% leech and 22% attack speed, guys. This kind of means, unless you are stunned, you are not killable for 5 seconds, guys, because I mean healing for the 80% of damage that you deal is just every attack fills you up, something like that. But of course you can get one-shotted, but if you are getting one-shotted, you are doing something wrong, or you can get stunned. Sadly, that's there. So you can get the Eldritch Chaos point from the crossroads and get the Ghoul done. Then you also use the Solare's Witchblade. I don't exactly remember the order. Hold up, I think I have written it down. Yeah. Start with this, then feel eel, then remove this point, get the green crossroads point here, get Scholar's Light for the 4 points, then fill Kraken. Where is Kraken? Where is Kraken? Doesn't look for constellations, I guess. I suppose we have the unspecking thing is very important, guys, because you have a total of 55 devotion points. I mean, you will find more than 55 devotion shrines, but you can only make use of 55. So after you, even if you cleanse after the 55th shrine, it doesn't give you any benefit other than the loot from cleansing the shrine. So the Kraken, though, why can I not find the Kraken? Okay, let me look it up. I wish the search function worked for the constellations as well. It just, oh yes, there is the one. Because we have 5 Eldritch and 5 Primordial, we can get the Kraken, and Kraken gives us the Chaos points, which is important, guys. After that, we fill the Quill. We respect the Eldritch point at the crossroads here. And finally then we fill the Ghoul, and we fill the Ghoul, we link the Ghoul. So when you unlock a devotion ability, guys, you have to link it to a skill that you are using that is appropriate. and Iskandras is an aura and is always active, which means when you link Ghoulish Hunger to Iskandras, it will always occur because the ability is always active and the proc is 100% chance, so it will always occur. But if you link it to something else, the trigger actually might not occur and it would be pointless. So if you get Ghoulish Hunger, definitely link it to an aura. Then we fill up Behemoth, and we fill the Behemoth to the Mirror of Erectus. So the combo here is, guys, the mirror is total immunity for 3 seconds and has a 22-24 second, depends on your level, cooldown. And this has a 24-second cooldown, and if you align these cooldowns, every time you press mirror and Giant Blood says 50% chance when hit, gives you a huge amount of health and also gives you a huge amount of HP regen. 20% health plus 1200 health, which means 3.6k or so heal for us, and also 440 health restored per second. And since we are also immune during the course of the mirror, this will be 3 seconds total immunity and almost a full heal every time. So let's keep up. And then we have Solal's Witchblade, which we link to the Eye of Reckoning, guys, because we want this to be always active, right? Because it gives minus fire resistance, and so we link it to our main skill, which gives less fire resistance to the monsters, which means more damage for us. And then we fill the owl. Where is the owl? Is it up there? The owl. Yeah, here it is. We fill the owl, and we fill the owl because of the ascendant points, guys. So as you can see, we can fill it with 1 point only, and it gives us 5 more when it's done. So after that we fill Rowan's Crown. Where is it? Yes, that one. So we link it to the Guardian, so the Guardians burn when they hit. And after that we fill the Order Crossroads point, which is the, yeah. And after that we fill Lion. Then we fill Crab. Yeah, this build's devotion table is a bit tough, guys. I mean, there's a lot of respecking here. So there's Crab. There's the Crab. We fill it, and we fill the Crab's. We link the Crab's shield ability to the aura that gives us damage reduction. So this is always active as well. So every time we get attacked, there's a 15% chance that we get a shield that absorbs 2260 damage against elemental, either or chaos. And by the way, these skills level as you level, guys. Since I've been playing a bit, all of mine are maxed, and they level slowly, but it doesn't take too long. I mean, after playing in Ultimate and getting to level 100, maybe a few hours of playtime will get all of them to max approximately. So after we got the Crab, guys, we get our what's the name, ascendant point, so we can respec all. Then we fill Chariot of the Dead and link Wayward Soul to Presence of Virtue. That's the other aura we get. we have gives us health, defense ability, and armor when it procs. Now this gave us some more points, guys. We can respect the Scholar's Light. We fill the Bard's Harp here. We link it to Reckless Power, which is another aura, so this inspiration is always active as well. Gives us offensive ability, gives us defensive ability, and that's why you've been seeing crits more often than what's stated in the character sheet, guys. I mean, we get more offensive ability, we reduce our opponent's defensive ability, and the crits are more often than 2%, but it's still low. Finally, we can respect the Order Cross. We put points in the Solemn Watcher. Where is it? Where is the Solemn Watcher? In the tower. And we respect the Lion and put our final remaining points into Revenant, guys. Like I said, the despecking part can seem complicated, guys, but that's because, like I said, of the constellations awarding you. For example, like I said, just 1 point in here and complete Tsunami, for example, and get 5 points in here, right? Then you can actually despec that point and unlock constellations that require up to 5 primordial points. But thing is, guys, you have to complete the constellation. For example, for some constellations, the path is very obvious, right? I mean, you have to get all points. However, for example, guys, in where is it? Yeah, for example, guys, this Blind Sage doesn't give you any points on completion, right? So does the Ratosh and the Leviathan. And as you can see, guys, the Leviathan doesn't have a fixed path. So you can get this, and this, and unlock the ability it grants you, and you do not need these abilities. And since the Leviathan doesn't grant you points upon completion, you can skip these points unless they are very good for you. That's the point. And if you don't need the points, you don't have to complete the constellation either. Depends on the points it gives you upon completion, and depends on how good or bad the skip devotion thingies are. But guys, generally the edges of the map has the most powerful constellations, and their requirements are very big, and they don't award you any points upon completing, so you can just generally beeline for the triggered ability there. But for example, Chariot of the Dead gives you some points, guys, so that's why we unlock this point. And it of course gives you some resistances, etc. So that's it for the devotions. Like I said, the build right now can finish the campaign, can finish the expansion campaigns as well, but it struggles right now because our defense is not enough, our HP is a bit low, the offensive and defensive abilities are a tad bit low as well. The damage capacity is low because we lack the proper weapon. I mean, I am using a level 65 version, which means lower damage, and the fire and burn damage, etc., all of them are lower than their level 94 counterpart. But the build is okay, guys. I mean, it's a good starter, and of course by upgrading the gear and using nicer augments, etc., you can make the build work against more powerful opponents, or you can farm ultimate relatively easily. But I used it as a stepping stone to get my reputations done, and I got the writs and start playing another character. And thing is, guys, you do not hold your own very good against the Nemesis. I mean, I'd say you will eventually kill them, but they will kill you as well, at this point at least. I mean, if I climb to 15k HP and 2.8k offensive ability, 2.7k defensive ability, then it will be something else, but right now it's not very good. And definitely guys, if you are going to play this build, definitely get some armor absorption abilities. Normally the base armor absorption is 70% only, and there are some components that actually increase that. I think we can search for it. Yeah, scaled hide is 20%, living armor is 12%, and sacred plating is 12% as well. These two are very hard to make though, very expensive as well. So I mean, one scaled hide and one living armor will be 32%, and the armor absorption will be 100%. This means guys, when a physical attack comes, it first rolls to decide which area it's hitting, and when that's decided, the 70% of that damage gets absorbed by that armor. So if you have 100% damage absorption, then 100% will be absorbed. For example, I'm receiving a hit dealing 4k damage, and it hits me on the legs, and I have 2000 armor there, and the absorption is 70%, so 1400 damage will be absorbed from that hit. So armor absorption actually increases your survivability a lot. So I think it's wise to use two armor absorption components on your gear. But the problem is guys, as you can see, the scaled hide doesn't give me any resistances, and the living armor actually gives a lot of resistances, which is great, but this gear is not putting living armor on. I mean, maybe I could craft a living armor and then destroy that piece of armor and get my living armor out of it, but like I said, this guy is retired now. She's resting. So that's about it for the build. We use Iskandra's balance. If we can also get, we use 2 pieces of Iskandra. We use 2 pieces of the Vanquisher set as well. Anything with elemental damage and fire damage is fine. We keep our resistances maxed. I mean, just browse through the options for augments, and of course guys, as you can expect, the expansion augments are slightly better than the vanilla augments. I mean, there is a vanilla augment that gives you 7% of 2 resistances each, and the expansion version gives you 8% of each, etc, etc. So just explore and ruminate on the build. If you have any suggestions or comments, feel free to leave them as a comment, and I will try to help out. See you guys, bye bye.